Welcome to episode 136 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Listen, this is the second time we reach the top of the playway numbers. It's the second time, and I think to celebrate. And you see how school on vacation and them children home. I don't know why it's 36 in playway, but that's where we come to play today. This is a nothing serious episode of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all new listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Salute to my guy Maurice Burke at the top, because the man say, come in here on YouTube to see me bob my head and bob and weave and do chair dance on the YouTube. And because of that, chair dance we shall do. Ha! Oh God. I choose this song because it had nothing to talk about this week, right? So it's a song with no lyrics. We go check out some instrumental this week, right? Where say? Take a little solo, take a solo. If you ain't doing a little chair dance, you're wrong. Salute to the great Pal Joey Lewis and the Pal Joey Lewis Orchestra. You know, it's sweet. Hey, if you ain't taking a little sweat right now, you're wrong in life. Life is to enjoy it. It's enough heavy news and all kind of things happening the Easter, right? As I say, the place quiet, so this episode shall be quiet. We ain't come here to make no noise. We ain't come here to deal with nothing too serious. Well, I introduced the episode already, or I played the song first. I can't remember. And to tell you the truth, it does not matter. The name of this episode is Indifference. So what I do over the weekend, what I do, the first weekend or a little Easter vacation, what I do, I can tell you what I do now. I come out my house again. I find this becoming a trend, you know. I listened to last week's episode, right? which is not always a lot of fun for me to go back and listen to episodes, right? Because when I done talk about it, I just want to done talk about it. I can't remember what I say when I finished talk about it. But I listened to last week's episode and I realized I do a whole lot of time talking about what I do over the weekend, and this is another one of them episodes like that. So if you're tuning in to hear about Piaco Airport and all them kind of thing, sorry. This weekend, I came out my house because I said last week that I was going to make an effort based on Stacy getting me started on something, right? Stacy said there's always talk about the culture, but I am not of the culture. I talk about the culture from the newspapers. I don't come out and experience the culture enough. So we went to play, and again, it was nice talking about that, and I intend to go to more plays and make more experiences out of that. We attempted as a couple, as a married couple, to do a date night at least once a month. We attempting this for the last 25 years of our marriage and failing, right? But we get off the ground. I think that last one was March. So we're looking forward to our April date night. But this weekend outing was our boys outing. It's a sticks and stones. It's only sticks and stones you see in the spot, right? But I tell you that a clash this weekend. Not a clash, right? A songman dance. And if anybody who know me know, the songman thing was where I love that. I used to have a website called trinisounds.com. Salute to Osmond, salute to Hinkson. That's what we used to do back in the day. Go to all kind of sound dance all about and take pictures and write reviews. And you know what I mean? We was originators, you know. We didn't really have the staying power. It kind of died on me. To tell you the truth, what happened with trinisounds.com was one day it got hacked and somebody took over. That guy was taking our pictures and putting it on his site. Them days I don't know about watermarking. Just like this podcast, I figure out everything as we go along, right? I didn't know about watermarking the pictures and them kind of things. So somebody just take the pictures I take and put it on their site like it's theirs. I write them like as a gangster. Me and my boy Ryan Ramchandad, write them like gangsters and say take down that otherwise cease and desist. You know what I mean? We never a lawyer in site, but we know the word cease and the word desist, so we send them that. And then man hack we whole website. No, the password for the website hosting was P8 $WORD. That was the password, right? So I shouldn't even say they hack it, right? Them fellas take the thing, own the website, take we logo and everything. And I think it break our spirit to the point where we couldn't get the thing back up and start it again. But the Sound Clash thing is where we come from, so we love that, you know? So salute to Taurus Movement and Bobby Killer, who put on a show this weekend in Song Forge with celebrating Addies or King Addies 40th anniversary. And Addies seem to be on tour for the 40th anniversary, right? So if you know anything about Addies or you know about Soundman thing, Addies was I think the biggest sound out of Jamaica to really cause that kind of rumble that they caused. And at one point, them was unstoppable. The kind of dub plates they would play, the kind of artists they was getting, the quality of the dubs. And then a dream team by the name of Babyface and Tony Matterhorn. Babyface being a Trinidadian born selector. And Tony Matterhorn from Jamaica. Well, early New York, Jamaican roots, but Jamaican born, but New Yorker. And Addies come out and represent New York. It was crazy what they used to do in the sound world. So I say, you know, I had to go down there and take in that little DJ showcase for those who don't know what songman thing is. So we went down there. So salute to my boy Jade. One man I know coming out for them thing is Hinkson. I know Hinkson there for sure. And a man by the name of Marlon. Them fellas don't miss them thing. And you see, the songman thing is a kind of fraternity. It's a small group of people. When I say small group, at its height, the songman thing used to bring out 2,000 people. And if you look at any clash dance or any kind of thing that bring out numbers, it's probably the same 2,000 people that's come out all the time. So I was asking Jade about it. Jade, you know what I mean? Jade living close to me here. Jade is a man. He don't drink heavy like myself. If you have somebody to drive, Jade go drive. And Jade is a good one. Me and Jade lyman these days. So I said, Jade, boy, it have a little clash. I hesitant to ask him because that clash thing is not for everybody. As I say, it's a lot of sticks and stones. It's not very enjoyable. There's not a lot to see except the sound. So you had to be into that to like that. But that's Jade as always as our soul legend. Say, boy, let we go. We roll it. And we went down in the Song Forge. You know, you have to understand that at my age, I want people to appreciate, right? And everybody who involved in songman thing to appreciate that you have an aging audience. Your audience that used to be 20-something years old is now 40-something years old, right? And as a 40-something-year-old man or two 40-something-year-old men, we try to get out of the house about 9 o'clock, you know what I mean? Because we don't have much staying power. We don't have much distance to run. So we reached down in the Song Forge. I ain't want to lie, must about 10 for the latest. 10 for the latest I reach down there. Because gates open 8 o'clock. So I say I get them at 2 hours for the early sounds to play the little early warm and thing. And I go reach down about 10 because in my mind, by 10 o'clock, either Taurus, Matsimila, or Addies, which is the 3 songs I come to hear. I didn't really come to hear nobody else. I wasn't interested in anybody else. Any one of them 3 songs, I was good. And of course, I want to hear Addies, right? Because I hear Addies. I want to hear all 3 of them, to be honest. Because I hear Matsimila playing a long time or Taurus, so I say I'm good to go. The last dance I went was Taurus versus Addies. That was in Bishops in the East have a little hall. It's great for that kind of clash thing. But I hear a lot of good things about Songforge from the virtual shows and when shows was now starting back and things. So I said, all right, it should be good. Well, when me and Jade reached down in the Songforge, Jade is a laugh. Jade say, you sure it had his dance? It's April Fool's, you know? So you sure it having a clash thing here? Because from the time you turn in by Abubakar and them, there's not a car inside. The place empty. I drive straight up to the venue, the car park empty, and you could see inside the venue from outside. It empty. The whole place is nobody is there except me and Jade. I said, Jade, I'm not going through this. No, I went through too much of them thing, chasing after song clash and them thing in my life to go and stand up in there in that empty place waiting for things to happen. All my joints hurting me and them thing. I said, Jade, boy, let me go on the avenue. I go down in the avenue, we find a spot. We drive across the avenue a few times because the avenue looking nice. Yeah? I mean, the avenue is the opposite of sticks and stones. The avenue are no sticks and stones, but it had things to break your bones. So we say, well, let me find the best spot and take a little gape and eat something and drink something. So we stop in a place named Mini Bar. Right? I don't know how much people is be liming on the avenue and thing. Again, I should go on us boy now, you know, so the avenue is foreign to me. I like one of them, you know, country people come to town with the bright lights. That's how I feel it. But the mini bar is a vibe. I just say salute to the people who run in mini bar. As I say last week, right? A man tell me is a 1% because I'm saying this, but I shall continue to say it because our goal as a podcast family, listeners and creators, whoever involved in this podcast journey, our goal is to be 1%ers, right? we had to come out of this poverty. we had to elevate ourselves. We had to be looking to see how we could go Paris a morning for breakfast. You understand? There's the idea we had to go behind. Why we must limit ourselves to what we want out of this life. So I was saying that one of the reasons I enjoy going to Miami a lot, not that I go to Miami for this sole purpose, but one of the reasons I like going is because the restaurant's typically full. And I like going out when you have a restaurant full and it buzzing and have energy and thing, you know what I mean? Last time I went to a place named Oysters by the River or something in Brickland, Miami, with me and my boy Edmond and JP. And there's a vibe, there's a whole energy. Young couples is tongue kissing in the bar. I like that. I find it's a vibe. When you go out, you must go out. Especially at my age where it is very hard to get me out my house. I don't like to leave home. I was home praying to God that Hinkson and Jade don't call me the night. If them didn't call, I was not going, but they called and I went. So when I went to Minibar, I was glad to see that the place was full. We couldn't get a table. I like that kind of vibe. Town restaurant to me is the only place that have that kind of energy down here. Only tell me about others if only know spots where I should go and check out with the energy right. You know what I mean? But Minibar full of people. A lot of folks. The tables were full. It's only women on all the tables. Squad of girls. It looked like a squad of girls line. And I learned from somebody recently, a little birdie tell me, right? That anyway, you see squad of girls liming too much is because the squad of girls and them just do research on which part drinks is cheap. Squad of girls is not to spend their money. Their money is to save. Their money is for progressive purposes. You know what I mean? They say anyway, you see man carrying girls, drinks is expensive. I hear so me, you know. But there's a lot of squad of girls. Everybody's celebrating something, and I mean, the most of the people, the biggest problem Minibar have is a language barrier. It come like Coop's car wash. There's a lot of Spanishes. What's the politically correct term to say Spanishes? Venezuelan immigrants, nationals. A lot of Spanishes was in the spot, and it's hard to order a drink when you had to translate. But other than that, the vibe was right. The drinks was in fact cheap. We didn't stay long enough to eat. We should have eaten something there, but we didn't really order food. But in that little spot is at the corner of, well, you know, I bad with street names and things. I don't know where Wendy's was. There's a corner of Wendy's and Arpita Avenue. It's on that corner, opposite Wendy's there, where Wendy's was, right? And Smokey and Bunty's opposite. But because we couldn't get a seat and we sit down by the bar, I was kind of waiting to get a table so we could eat and think comfortable. Because the place tight and the bar space a little uncomfortable. Plus, them have air condition blowing on you there. And the way my arthritis and my gout and my elbow set up, I can't take too much a cold breeze when I'm drinking liquor. So, so I say, you know what? Let me get a table. And at one point when Jade ordered some drinks, I said, Jade, I don't go outside. You know? I don't go outside. I can't take this cold. I'm going outside and get some warmth. When I go on outside for the little warmth now, somebody hailing me out from my Smoky and Bunty side. But again, the way my eyesight set up, like I can't see too good who it is over there. When I watch good as my old partners, Colonel and Many Faces, in the Smoky. It's up in the Smoky, the man and them linemen. I mean, I would have never thought from growing up. I grew up on the street behind Smoky and Bunty. So I know what Smoky and Bunty was in the heyday. Smoky and Bunty was, this time I will get right? Smoky and Bunty was at the corner of Dengue Street and the main road, Western Main Road. And Smoky and Bunty was a spot. You see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Smoky and Bunty full. All the street down by Wickers Park and thing. And they had burned down some years ago, well, and I know they had opened back on the avenue. And I went there with Scratch and them on the old Parang side to play some music there time. And that was on a weekend and it was kind of dead. So I actually surprised to see Smoky and Bunty. Smoky and Bunty was full. Inside and out was full. And full of, I wouldn't say young people. I guess the same audience they used to pull on the main road back in the day. That's the audience they have. A slightly older audience. Middle-aged people. The people having that time. People inside dancing and drinks is moving. So I was glad to see that. I was glad to see Many Faces and Colonel and things there. So we went over there, we lime at 5, we take a few drinks, and by this time it's about midnight, a little after midnight. Now I was texting Hinkson to find out what is going on down on that spot, because now I'm in a quandary, because I'm trying to figure out how much do I really like something, because I know that I'm moving from very good play, although my eyesight poor, it was full. To go back in our place there now with sticks and stones, I wonder if should I do this? Should I do this? I don't know if I should do this. Is it worth it going back there to see one bag of man? But when Hinkson tell me, boy, one song playing and it looking like it's go time, I ask him if Umba and them play it. He tell me no. He say Umba now reach. I say, all right, let me go down. And thankfully, when we reach down, we get a park. Now the place full. By the time I reach back down, you can't get the whole place is cars now. The total opposite of it. And I thinking to myself, boy, all you really gonna start this dance 1 o'clock in the morning, boy, when everybody there in pain. People kneeing, I telling you, the people acting like if they're busting shot and thing fire and thing, but all of them had to go and sap. They had to put clove to soak and sap the knee and them kind of thing. And it's Bengay. The whole dance smelling like Bengay at this point. People in pain. 1 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there. Taurus finally come on and take the mic. When I reach, I see Umba in the crowd. I ask Umba, say, play it? He's like, nah. I was like, when you're going on? He's like, boy, Taurus had to play on Addies. I was like, what? What time you expect me to stay to see Umba? But boy, when the thing starts, I realize how much I genuinely love it, because I forget about time. I forget about the hour of the morning. I forget that my son at karate to go and do 9 o'clock to 5 the next day in some competition down in South. And Taurus come on and play, and they play the normal, usual, steady self. Taurus is a song where I find, to be honest, from our era of where it would have been Matt Similar, Jugglers, Radioactive, Cell Construction. What's my boy name from South Judah? Mosiah Goldstar, who own Anton's Gold Rush now. Or then he owned it then back then too. But those songs, so when it transitioned to songs like Zygon and Delegates and Detrimental, Rapid Response and them, when it bypassed them, I feel like Taurus is one of the few youths who, and when I say youth, he's not a 20-something-year-old fella like what man was when they started that song. You know, he had to be in his 30s too. He had into weird. So I'm sure he in pain the next day just like everybody else. Everybody is hurting. This is old people. But he hold up this song, man, thing to a level I find, because he keep cutting dub plates and things like normal. In fact, the people who don't know, dub plates are at some point I will get that up, right? But the plates is a customized version of a song designed to big up your DJ. So it's have their name in it and things. I can't play a dub plate here, but it's just a customized version. And he maintained that he keeping fairly up to date with the songs that he's got. Plus, he's actually do dances and take clashes and things. I mean, he take a clash against Addies that, as much as I like him, I don't feel he had a chance to win. But he ain't backing down from it, and he do real good against Addies too. Addies is one of the biggest sounds in the world. It will be hard for anybody to beat. So he come on and play, and he was good as usual. Then he introduced Addies, and Addies proved to me that the songman world getting old. Because if people remember, right, for those of us who was a party, throwback to when you used to go dances like Mataran versus Mighty Krong down in the West, or even 45 Shop Lock or 45 Shootout, we used to look forward. You used to want to hear the foundation songs, right? But you also used to look forward to when they play new tune, what playing on the radio, or artists that now come out. And Addies come and play the regular foundation songs and the anthems what people paying money to hear. You want to hear them thing when they go out. And at one point, Soji was the two fellas is Kingpin and Soji, and he played some new songs, Skilly Bang and thing. Nobody didn't want to hear that, and the dance get dead when they started playing new tune, which proving that is old people. We just want to hear the old stuff. You want to hear stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s. Anything past the 90s, man, ain't interested in hearing. So they play and they do well. And then Matt Miller come on late. And Addies play about 20 tune after it was Matt Miller time, which was getting me annoyed. Although you're glad to hear the tune on them. But when Matt Miller come on, the man got a chance to play the Everton Blender, which everybody waiting to hear. And one more song, which was a custom song, bigging up Addies, but bigging up himself on top of it. And it sung like if Umba wanted to start a little war, you know what I mean? Now, granted, this is 3 o'clock in the morning I talking about tonight. And somebody, some wise person in the exuberance and excitement behind the thing and the songs that busting and song busting, he plays something, grab a fire extinguisher and spray up in the air. And of course, it was one of them chemical powder fire extinguisher. And that was it. All of a sudden, everybody started running off the stage. Nobody can see. Dance done. Laptop and working again. And boy, everybody walk out. That was the end of it. Nobody didn't want to hear nothing else after that point. And it's 3 something in the morning. Everybody there had things to do. The age of this crowd. Man had to go to church in the morning. Who daughter christening. Everybody I talk to in there. And I see plenty of people I know because it's the songman thing that we usually do. You're going to see the same set of people. And I mean, I'm saying it's a sticks and stones thing, but people like Aisha Bat and Sharice and Paddy. I see plenty women in there, surprisingly. You know what I mean? Women in the cane and the foot in boots. And listen, when it have something like that, you're going to get a faithful crowd of people who will come out regardless of where it is and what it is. So salute to the songman thing. And it was real good. I'm really sorry that Umba didn't get to play the dance. I wish I should have called Umba and asked him if he could have sent me the double and play it here. It would be good. Because when I talked to him the next day, he said all of them eyes started burning. They couldn't see nothing. And they had to come off the stage. And he said when he went back on, the laptop was sticking, the turntable wasn't working right and all that. So it spoiled a good dance. And I remember that happening in St. John's before, the exact same thing. The firemen who were there put on their fire extinguishers. Some of them men who think it would be exciting, beyond the flames and think one man busting and that noisy horn that people like to do. All the horn noisy, like I can't take it in my old age. But somebody spray a fire extinguisher. I want to believe that was Black Cat with Pink Panther in that dance. And they sprayed the thing and it mashed up the dance. That one was worse because we had to clear out the whole of St. John's. You couldn't breathe. Nobody in the audience. You had to come out. One of the biggest differences with Songforge is I think is that because it's an open kind of venue, all the chemicals spray on the stage or blow to the stage, which will make it worse for them who was on the stage. But salute to Taurus for having a great dance. And I personally really enjoyed, but my advice to them, just like the people who was doing the play, only 5, 6 o'clock is a good time for people to have a little dinner. You know what I mean? Go by mini bar first, all about 5, 6 o'clock. By 7, we should be in the venue. By 8, big songs should be playing. And by 11, we should be heading out to there's a different time. But besides being old, right? Besides getting older and not being able to do the things we used to do when we was younger, right? Entertainment change. I don't think people realizing the fact that entertainment change. I say this all the time about Carnival. They say Calypso tends to work and the Marsh Grad dying and thing. The thing not dying. We just not promoting it right. We still feel that value for money mean giving people 20-something Calypsonian in a night. That is not value for money again. This era of people, even the people our age and especially the younger people, they're living in a generation where their entertainment could be swiping through something for hours, but each one of these something and them lasting 30 seconds or a minute. You have to be quick. People want to be able to come out and have multiple experiences. When you come out your house, you go so, You taking a little song clash, you run so you get a little dinner, you pass through so you take a few drinks on your way home. In the same 3 or 4 hours that we used to spend out before. People want to touch and go. This idea that for me to give you value, I had to keep you there till 3, 4 in the morning. Listen, I was a whole mess. I went the next day, salute to my boy Zachary. Zachary went to his first karate competition. My boy is a yellow belt and he went and they had several categories to compete in, which was kata as well as sparring. And Zachary, out of his whole class, gets selected as one of the people who will compete for his dojo in the kata at yellow belt. Salute to him. He went out there and he did his best. He didn't come home with no medal or no trophy, but I proud of him. I remember when he was first starting to go karate, he was very motivated and enjoying the whole idea of, I think, empowerment that karate brings. Salute to Sensei Ludwin Jacob and his senpai as well, who really motivate these youths on a next level. The way they talk to youths and have them feeling a certain level of self-confidence and thing. I like what martial arts brings. I worried about one thing though. When I watch I watch the other boys in Zachary class, right, in the dojo. And I was thinking about something if I'm going down the right road here. For the parents who have older children, they had to help me with this, because this boy is a yellow belt and he's starting to spar and thing. They're sparring in full gear. But I watch some of the children who sparring and some of them who doing jiu-jitsu as well as karate and thing at the higher levels. When them start to reach green belt and whatever the higher levels, right? When they start to reach black. And I looking at Zachary, who transitioning now from a young child to a preteen child, right? You're seeing it in the change of his attitude and those things. And I think to myself that by the time this boy reach a teenager, if I leave him in karate and he reach teenager and he start to get a brown belt, how am I going to discipline this child? Because I make a joke the other day and tell him, I had to talk softly because you're in the next room. I make a joke and tell this man the other day, let me see what he's doing this sparring. And this boy is a yellow belt. That boy hit me so hard. That boy hit me so hard in my chest. Listen, what time I try to play it off smooth. Like if I think and I try to talk to him rough and say, hey, you're going too far. This is the thing I don't have no gear. I don't know what to say. Because this man crung me in my chest. The thing feeling away. So I don't know when he reached brown belt. How he is disciplined children who better than you? I trying to understand this thing. But anyhow, what are you doing for the Easter? The plan really for this Easter was to fly out, and I was saying that last week, but the flight price something get up on my way, so I can't go nowhere. And I think my boy Ronald give me the solution. You had to book the Easter trip before the carnival money spent. But I didn't do it, so I'm stuck here for the Easter. So I wanna get into this Easter to go back to some of the normal traditions and rituals that Easter would bring, right? So I'm going to get hot cross buns. But I'm being honest with all you, I'm not doing the impoverished hot cross buns. I'm going high end with my hot cross bun. What the hell I coming off my diet to eat them hot cross bun where it's fine and massy and them thing hard like stone and the cross and them come like an afterthought. So I'm going to get my hot cross buns from 2 places. I'm going to get from Pesh Patisserie, who are not as fancy as these people, eh? So I really don't know exactly how he has pronounced this, right? And this is not an ad, right? This is just me liking what they do. And usually I order these hot cross buns. I want to say it's panettone hot cross buns. Panettone. It's expensive like hella. I don't want to tell all you how much for a dozen, but I want to tell you that you should probably go and get yourself some, because these panettone hot cross buns is the best thing you ever taste. It not overly sweet. It's heavy with the fruits. It's bad. You should try it. And then I see Adams doing hot cross buns, and I have a lot of faith in Adams too. But Adams hot cross buns is not cheap. But I'll be putting in my order for my 2 sets of hot cross buns, and I'll be having hot cross buns and saltfish on I saying Carnival now, Easter Friday. What is it called? Good Friday morning. I'm going back to that. The provision and fish and thing. I wonder if I could find fish. How expensive fish is in Easter. I feel like going for the fish and do some little provision and fish during Easter too. And the Easter was a time where you used to do kite flying, right? Easter in St. James was a place where by now we done making several kite, right? Because it wasn't just kite flying, it used to be kite war. And we used to fly kite in the cemetery. I always tell you, St. James is a place where the cemetery is at the center of life in St. James, right? So with my boy Zola, who's telling me since Anne's was the same thing, with cemeteries where they used to play often and thing. And the reason the cemetery become a place where we used to play often, although it had a park, and I don't know why we didn't used to play in the park, but it had no wires over the cemetery. The cemetery was the only place in St. James where it had no overhead wires, so you could have fly kite comfortable. And that way we used to have little kites where you put a little zwill or a little razor and thing on your tail, and you try and fly kite and cut down men kite. Now, kite flying and thing get to be a different thing in these times because I don't know if when last all went by the savannah to take in kite flying, right? Because the savannas over the Easter weekend is a big thing still. Savannah over the Easter weekend come like how the savannah is be for Independence Day fireworks. It's a daytime version of that. You cannot get a park nowhere. The place completely full. People on picnic mode and kite flying mode is still a big thing, which is a nice thing to see. But I feel like I was not good at making kite back then. Remember when you used to bend cookie is what we used to use. I don't know which part to get cookie. I could make this entire thing with me and Zachary, you know, but I don't know which part to get cookie to bend and how to ting around this string and make a, we used to call that a bow. You used to make a thing out of the string looking like a bow and arrow and a next straight piece coming down, and then what the hell is my kite paper now? And I don't know what to take to make a kite tail, because as is most of y'all experience back in the day, our parents or our grandparents or the older people in the household, they used to sew a lot. So it always had extra cloth that you could take and make a kite tail. Well, what am I supposed to do now to make kite tail? I'll wear samaroos and buy cloth to make, I don't know. So I want to make the little tradition happen with me and him this week and make a kite. But I also don't want to embarrass him when he come with my old kite with my old Elmer's glue looking terrible. And everybody have a mad bull. So should I buy this boy a kite, or should I go and make a kite to fly? What is the real tradition? Is the tradition just the flying the kite, or is it making kites and them kind of thing? And Easter was that time too. Used to have little sports day and you know what I mean, those types of things. So in the community here, we're trying to have a little football sweat. When is that? Good Friday morning service supposed to have a sweat. What I go do? I go buy some of them good hot cross bun for myself home here, and I'll carry out. I'll buy a few dozen. Them lenders ones to carry out to the field for everybody to eat their hot cross buns and thing. But I feel like, given the fact that I hear, and given the fact that I'm hurt by the fact that somebody call and tell me I sit at 1% talk, and I think I said a big money talk, I feel like I should do more traditional things this Easter and hold it together. Easter was also a time that was, I guess because school on vacation, people would go to the beach a lot. But I saw Deacon Derek, what's your name again, boy? And listen, every time I talk about church folks, my cousin is calling and tell me he's seeing me going down a road, right? He said God is calling me. I feel so, because every time I watch the papers now, I seeing something again from the church that I like, and I mean, I'm out to go to church for Easter Sunday morning too. So if anybody had something to do for me for Easter Sunday morning, so I could do that and go to church, or let me know. But so is his name Derek Walcott, Deacon Derek Walcott? Yeah, he came out and said that the Easter weekend is not a time for beach. Now he was talking about the church and what the church was, the meaningful nature of Easter to Catholics in particular, but I guess to Christians in general. And my father maintains that tradition up to today. Now, this, I believe it's Good Friday as well. They do, or Holy Thursday, they do Stations of the Cross, right? So Sunday going was Palm Sunday. I see Palm reaching the house and thing, you know what I mean? I didn't go. I used to always like Palms coming home, but I never really liked the church part. But I see Palm come home. I feel good when Palm come home. And as somebody who's not religious, I think some traditions just stick with me over the years. So it's nice to see the palms. It reminds my grandmother a lot when Stacy bring home palms for Palm Sunday and think, maybe I should hang up a little palm here. But the Stations of the Cross is something my father keeps up that tradition up to today. And sets up the 12? It's 12 Stations of the Cross. I should never try to talk about religion. No, I think it's 12 stations. It's 12 stations or 12 disciples. How much of a station did have he set up these stations and do a little walk through home by him for the Easter? So that's one house I ain't going by Easter Sunday at all. He ducking that for sure. But I think Derek Walcott was talking about Easter as being the traditions of the church and making it a time for reverence and prayer and understanding the sacrifice that Jesus made for all of us by giving his own life, rising from the dead and so on, which is what Easter is about. But I remember Easter being a beach time that was always a little worrying because of the water itself. The water is a rough, I guess it's just the time of year, nothing to do with Easter, but it's not the best time to be going to the beaches. So I remember growing up where you always used to hear about people who run into problems and difficulties during the Easter period and end up drowning for Easter. That'll be one of the most sad things that you could ever face. So, all in all, with nothing to talk about this week, I just want to tell all you, enjoy LA Easter, make the best of it, stay safe, remember what it is Derek Walcott say, and make sure that whichever one of the traditional activities you choose, it help bring your family closer together. You see these kind of sad news happening now, you know what I mean? You're seeing, I would talk about it, I had no choice but to talk about it, but another one of them fires bring the nation into mourning again. And when you see them things, it's give you a reminder that you ain't know much time you have with your family here, you know. So you have to do the things to make memories. So I will tell you next week what kind of memories I make if I make a bad kite. Or if I went and buy a 1% kite so my son could look like the boss all day. But I want to leave only with this one on the Easter talk.
If you want a wonderful Easter, here is an island no place can better. If you want a wonderful Easter, here is an island no place can better. It's situated south of America, and it's on the border of Venezuela. An opportunity you never had. I introduce you to the island of Trinidad. Everybody, Easter, Easter in Trinidad. Super, to beat it is really hard. It is fascinating and entertaining. Everybody knows to spend an Easter in the land of the calypso. As the sun rises in the morning, holiday makers set for their outing. You have thousands of different dances, large excursions down to the beaches, and the gorgeous dresses the ladies wear, with their Easter bonnets to beautify their hair. They look so adorable, a scenery that is unforgettable. Everybody, Easter, Easter in Trinidad. Super, to beat it is really hard. It is fascinating and entertaining. Everybody knows to spend an Easter in the land of the calypso. When your glorious evening is all done, you can book a week at the Hilton, where you would meet the cream of the country, including the doctor and family. The smell of fragrant will keep you cool, and the beautiful open-air swimming pool. These are luxuries that can be had when you spend an Easter in Trinidad. So marvelous, Easter, Easter in Trinidad. Super, to beat it is really hard. It is fascinating and entertaining. Everybody knows to spend an Easter in the land of the calypso.
Calypso, pop, 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 pop. So yeah, now, given that Kitchener says Easter in Trinbago, we here for Trinbago, and it looking like it might be a little harder to escape Easter in Trinbago in future. As I see an article this week saying, this from The Guardian, U.S. increases visa processing fees for Caribbean visitors. The U.S. Department of State on Tuesday published a final rule regarding increases to certain non-immigrant visa application processing fees for the Caribbean and other visitors. Increases published on Tuesday in the U.S. Federal Register will become effective on May 30th, 2023, which is just now. So if your visa expiring, I think you could apply for it. If you think expiring in a year, you could go as early as that. Maybe it's best time to go now because the visa, they're saying here, the State Department said the fee for visas for business tourism B1, B2. Is B1, B2 the one we travel on regularly? I think it is. You know. It's going from 160 to 185. So that's about 100 TT increase. And the fee for certain petition-based non-immigrant visa for temporary workers will increase from 190 to 205. There's another $15. And treaty investor and treaty applicants in a special occupation, I guess the E category, is going from 205 to 315. That's not $15. That's a big increase. So most of them is increasing by about $100, and this one increasing by a significant amount of money. There's 110 US. The others are increasing by about 100 TT, give or take. And we were talking about that whole idea of US currency and stuff last week. I was Stacey telling me now that you could pay for the US visa application because me ain't do one of these things in a long time. Thank God for Stacey, you know what I mean? I'm not filling out none of them form. If it's left up to me to fill out them form, me ain't going nowhere. But she's usually take care of these for me and for the family. And she was saying that you could pay the TT equivalent in Scotia. So you don't have to find US to pay this. I'm sure it is in their best interest to make sure that you pay this in TT. But when you think of a payment of 185, you're starting to head towards 1200 TT now, right? For the regular B1, B2, which most people would be a visitor's visa or just for business. I think it's visiting business. So you could go there for meetings. You could openly say that you're going there for a business meeting or whatever business deal you have to do. But you can't go there to work or to go to school. You have to apply for a different visa. So for people who have children abroad studying and have to reapply for these visas, or those of us who visit, is an additional expense. And as you know, with the US, there's no consideration for a refund of any part of that fee if you rejected from if your visa gets rejected, right? And I was talking to I have a class going on right now, right? Salute to that class in CETA, right? It's one of the better classes that I've seen in a long time in terms of their performance. Not just their performance in terms of the grading. I mean, I like people to get good grades, but what I like more than that is for people to be very invested in the thing that we're teaching. It feels so boring sometimes when you're lecturing and they're just interested in what coming in the assignment and what coming in the exam and thing. I was ready to mail it in at that point in time. Because I personally find that the topics are very, very interesting. And this class is basically international business, right? As with like globalization, international business. So it talks about international relations, a little bit of economics. It talks about a bit of global competitiveness and these types of topics, which I find to be very interesting. And I feel like students who find it interesting or who keep themselves apprised of what's happening in those areas tend to make better applicants when you're looking at people, particularly in interviews, because they have a better world view. So I enjoy doing this class because this class immerses themselves in it. So when I saw this article, it was interesting because that's something that we just spoke about in that class. We were talking about the movement of people as part of our discussion on trade liberalization, right? So the idea that the first world countries push is that if we liberalize trade, meaning that they have no barriers to trade, you could trade things, they have no duties, no tariffs, no non-tariff barriers. So tariffs would be taxes that are paid on goods that have to come in the country. So we have some tariffs, right? We have a 25% thing on any or several items. Most of the things that we bring in is be 20 to 25%. I believe vehicles are 25%, appliances is 20%, and so on. And clothes and them thing might be somewhere around 20, which you would see those taxes levied when you buy things online, right? We also have additional tariff, which is 7% on any online purchase. I think that will qualify as a tariff as well. A tariff should be any percentage that's paid based on the value of the item. So if they're taking that 7% on the value of the thing that you buy, it will be considered a tariff. And you must watch carefully how they calculate that, just so you know the price of what you're paying online. Because when they charge duties and VAT, so you would pay, if you buy an item for $100, they may charge you 25% on the 100, which carry you to 125. Then they charge you 7% on top of that, which carry you to let me say 130 something, wherever that might be. and then you will pay 12.5% on that total amount, inclusive of the shipping amount. All the things that you calculate are not based just on the cost of the item, but the cost of the item landed in Trinidad. So if it costs you $75 and the shipping, like Aeropost and them take 25 off you, your duties and taxes are calculated on the 100. So it is it causes you to, for the consumer then, from the consumer viewpoint, you have to make a decision as to whether you would buy. Let me use a big item as an example, right? If you had to buy a fridge, you have to make a decision as to whether you'll buy a fridge in Quartz or buy it abroad. A lot of times when you see the price of the item in Quartz and you see the price of it online, it looks like if it's cheaper to buy it online. And it's the same, it's one of the reasons why we're so attracted to online shopping. One, because the amount of variety and the things that you could get that you may not be able to get in Trinidad. So like playing football, for instance, a lot of the people who I talk to buy their boots online. So you might find that a boot might cost you 200 US online. But somebody down here selling it for $1,800 or $2,000. Usually 10 to 1 is where you see, right? So wherever you see online, somebody sell it for 10 times the amount here NTT. And you might be able to buy your boots for the little 200 when it has sale for Thanksgiving and them thing. You're even more incentivized to buy it abroad. And then you bring it in and they will charge you one. So let me say you get the boots for 200. They will charge you something to ship it. Usually these boots very light, so you don't get much freight charges. And then you pay your 20% and your 7% or whatever those things might be. Mind you, if you register a business or if you have a business registered and you open the skybox in your business name, you will not have to pay that 7%. That 7% is only for individuals, not for businesses. So the business that brings in products save themselves that 7% and can then sell you things even cheaper. Or at least their cost is lower to bring it in than you. And it helps them to be competitive. So that's what the bigger companies, countries all over the world, or the people, the advanced thinkers in what should make the world a better place economically, argue that if we remove all those barriers and we have globally fair competition, so no government gets involved in business, any business could come in the country and operate if they want, or you could go anywhere and operate, that the things will become cheaper for everybody. And there's an argument to hold that up. The issue is that it typically does not benefit very small countries, or it doesn't benefit very poor economies. And Trinidad falling into a couple of them brackets a little bit, right? I mean, I don't think we're very poor, but we're very small. We only have 1 million people. So we tend not to produce things in large amounts in very competitive or efficient ways because we're small. In countries that are very large, they end up doing large manufacturing and large production and large-scale agriculture because they already have such a big market to fulfill. We're not very good at that. So you tend to find out when you look at the barriers to trade, is easy to see when you look at tariffs, but then they also have non-tariff barriers where a government could basically say, for instance, this cannot come into the country. You can't bring that. Like all embargo, right? So you cannot bring certain things into Trinidad. And there might be a limit as to how much of other things you could bring. Like I think each individual could only bring in one used car a year, or even brand new, you could bring in one per year. Them things designed to protect local industries so that the car sellers here have a chance rather than you buying it and bringing it in cheaper. Or simple things like if you had to bring in a fridge or air conditioner, there's some, I think it's Freon gas. You have to get a license for that to bring it in. That's a barrier to entry as far as I'm concerned. It just makes it, when I say barrier to entry, they mean it make it one more step to get it into the country. And when you look at the movement of people, it is one of the harder ones because people seem to think that they have some sovereign right over a country. I mean, they do. You have a sovereign right over your country, and you could decide who must come and go in your country. I find it personally to be one of the more contrived things. I don't see why people can't go anywhere in the world they want to make a better life for themselves or to visit the place or so. So they have some countries have some very stringent laws about their immigration policies and what makes you a national. So you must be born there. For instance, in the States, you had to be born there, or your parents had to be from there, or you had to do a long application process for them to consider you. And what a lot of people do is go and get married, right? If you're married a U.S. national legally and truthfully, you can become a citizen over some time. You know, the whole green card and the process and so on. So when I saw this visa application process going up, it was an interesting discussion in the class because, again, it forms another barrier to entry. You understand? Now, again, against the backdrop of what we discussed in terms of the US dollar, I wonder to myself sometimes if it's a good thing or a bad thing. In other words, I don't like this idea that they can charge a processing fee for application process that is enormously vague. There's nobody who could tell you what exactly you have to do to get a US visa. There's no prescribed thing that you have. People tell you how to get ties to the country, which is what? Money in the bank, you have children here, you have land here. The general rule of thumb is the more ties you have to the country, the better it is for your application. But it is really not true. I remember we have a national coach, our current national coach, who is taking us en route to the World Cup. You know what I mean? To get out the group stage too. Just recently was rejected a US visa. I don't know how it wasn't a bigger story, because that to me, when you talk about international trade, football being the thing that we play in, imagine that I had to play against you because we in CONCACAF together. But your immigration could make a decision that my coach cannot get a visa to come to your country. To me, that's an international incident. But it seemed to be swept under the rug. It wasn't a very big story at all. And apparently, it gets sorted out now. And in fairness, we didn't have to play USA at the time. So it wasn't really a idea of them trying to cripple us. I don't think they need to cripple us either. I feel like it'd be with the coach too, but it made it more difficult for him to travel to the other countries in CONCACAF, which he would typically go Miami and then go El Salvador, those places, and make it difficult for him. I don't think it's fair at all. And I granted, I don't know what other issues Angasif have before the embassy that could cause him to lose a visa. But I just think that if somebody's a national coach, it's unfair if a country could have a say over whether that person could come there or not. All the players and all the coaches and the staff should be forced, they should be mandated to allow the people to come into your country. What the hell is this? It was a competition. You can be using unfair tactics, but the world itself unfair. But that movement of people is one of the more difficult areas to control. And because people value their sovereignty. So I'm saying I don't support this idea that I could pay for this vague process, not know what it takes. Because if you tell me clearly, I need these 10 things to apply for a visa. That way, if I don't have those 10 things, I could keep my $300 or my $185 in my pocket and not apply. And I want you to think about it from this standpoint too, right? The people who can most afford this $185 to apply for the visa are the people who are most likely to get through. They're more likely than not to get through. If you could afford the $185 and losing $1,200 is not a problem for you, you probably have several ties to the country. If you want to call it that, you're beyond a certain level in terms of your income, maybe in terms of your education as well. Your asset base might be good enough. So or you're working for a company, or you have a business or something that allows you to easily afford $1,200. And when it's about 5 family members, that's $6,000. Now, $6,000, no problem. I'll pay the thing and I go when I need to go. Those are the people who least likely to be rejected. But the people who most likely to be rejected are the people for whom $1,200 might be hard to come by. You understand? Because it mightn't have the strongest income or the strongest asset base or the strongest ties to the country, if you want to call it that. So why it is these people must be paying for a vague process to go to a country, and then you could just hops up all my money and go, when your country is enormously, exponentially more wealthy than my country. Exponentially. So, but again, we had to pay to fund your operation if we want to go there. And I'm hearing people saying as well that you do have to apply and you do have to, it's an opt-in situation, which I get. But I do feel like if there's this, when you're talking about global competition, there's this big boy versus a certain amount of strong arm in. Because we couldn't possibly, if we tomorrow decided that US nationals need a visa to come here, and that all US nationals who here must go and apply for a visa, and we will make a sovereign decision as to whether they could stay here or not. I could tell you now that a call is going to be made, if Biden remember the number, a call is going to be made to say, hey, all you can do this, and if all you do this, we're going to stop sending this, that. You see all these investments here, this will stop. This program will stop. We're shutting down the embassy. None of can come here. That will be stopped in the tracks long before it moves forward. So sometimes you just look at these things and it's such a... such a strong arming and such a bullying tactic that is making me enormously uncomfortable. But as I hear the naysayers saying as I'm talking, it's an opt-in process, and if you want to go Miami and have lunch with people and go to nice restaurants and things, you have to apply for the people visa. But it's just one of them things that I want us to always remember. And when I said that I'm not sure if it's such a bad thing, the flip side of it to me is if visa was 5,000 US to apply, much less people would want to travel to the States. Now, it will probably just redirect international travel somewhere else, right? So we will start to go Mexico or wherever else we could find. Panama might be an example, where Trinidadians ain't shy about going to Panama. But what it will also lead to is more staycations. So booking places in Togo, in Tobago, and so on. And Tobago generally, a couple Easters ago, we went to Tobago for the week before Easter. It was during the vacation, but not the Easter weekend. And it was full. All the restaurants were full. The beaches were full. So it could help stimulate our local economy and almost force us to buy more locally or to consume more locally, to kind of drive and jumpstart our economy and make things happen here, especially when Tobago would have lost out on some income due to COVID and so on, might be a good idea. So I'm between two places. I'm between either next year, booking my vacation and getting out of this country early from all December so that Easter come and I gone, or organizing myself to do this staycation thing where I could follow my own talk and try to buy more local and them things. I just find that sometimes when you do that locally, to make it affordable, especially Tobago vacations now, to make it affordable, you had to travel with some families. You know what I mean? You had to have a squad to move with, to get one of these big, that sometimes it's so hard to just get one room or a small place that nice. That just for three of us is a little tricky. But anyway, Fitzgerald Hines. It's always an entertaining day when you have Fitzgerald Hines to talk about, you know what I mean? Things always on the up when Fitz is in the news. So this is from the Express, right? I want it to be known that I am not making up anything. And wait, I'm supposed to be playing instrumental songs. All right, when I'm done with this, I'll remind me, right? When I'm done with this, I'll play one of my other favorite instrumental songs over the years, since we haven't to talk about. But this is from the Trinidad and Tobago Express. This is published on the 2nd of April 2023 by Camille Hunt. And I want to tell you what is the headline so you could go and Google this for yourself and see that I ain't making this up. The headline is Hines, porn, violent shows play role in crime. That is the headline. So you go and Google that so you'll see me and making up nothing. Let me read, right? National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines says that the jury is still out on whether poverty or unemployment affects the crime rate, but he feels like violent movies and pornography are partly to blame. This man ever read a book? The man say the jury is still out. So what he's saying is that he's not sure if poverty or unemployment affects the crime rate at all. But he feels like violent movies and pornography are partly to blame. You know what I mean? I like this and I like this bad. Hines was speaking at a forum hosted by the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers and the Trade Development Unit at the University of the West Indies on St. Augustine campus on Friday night. He was responding to economist Dr. Roger Hossain, who had delivered a presentation at the forum earlier. During his presentation, Hossain said that there had been an increase in unemployment, but this was not reflected in the labor force participation rate. Quoted as saying, "We have to understand what the factors are that are causing people to drop out of the labor force. Why is it 70,000 people lost their jobs and the unemployment level only moved from about 27,000 to 32,000? And only 3,400 people aged out of the labor force. Where did the rest of people go? What are they doing? Are they joining gangs?" I like Roger Hossain a lot, right? So let me say full disclosure. I like Roger Hossain. I like economics as a whole, and Roger was one of the people who taught me economics, and I like his reasoning. His theory is sound, but I also like his reasoning, right? So full disclosure. Hossain went on to ask whether there was a link between this and the murder toll. But before I say that, I find it to be a reasonable question, right? If you have so many people who drop out of the labor force, as he's saying, I would want to understand if the unemployment figure is not moving, what is keeping people employed? How are people earning? if there are adult people in a society, particularly adult people with children, right? And they are living but not working, I find it to be a legitimate question, like how, not a question of accusation, right? So if my son, let me say my son is working age and he living here still, and I am not giving him an allowance because at 18 he will be cut off completely from the wealth of the Shepherd Bab family. You understand? He had to make his own money. So if he not making any money, I not giving him no money, and he not working nowhere, but he's carrying girls on dates and so on, you know what I mean? He's in the minibar eating sweet and drinking sweet and these things. And you know what I mean? He's wearing new clothes, and I see he come home and he have new rims. I would ask him, out of concern, not accusing him of anything. I would say, son, you're doing well. I see you're doing well. You're having birds, you're carrying birds out and things. You're doing, you know what I mean? You're living. Like, where you getting money, boy? How you doing for money? I would ask him out of concern. So I think at a macro level, an economist asking, what are the people doing, is a legit question. He went on to be quoted as saying, when we look at the number of homicides and we look at the economically active population, we are seeing that a trend is worrying. Sorry, let me read that again. When we look at the number of homicides and we look at the economically inactive population, we are seeing a trend that's worrying. Responding to Hossein's comments, Hines expressed doubt about crime being linked to poverty and unemployment. The jury is out for me on that. I know many people who cannot be characterized as unemployed or poor who find themselves engaged in serious criminal activity. People who are well off, of which those things cannot be said, he said. Fitz, I waited there, particularly related to the crime situation in Trinidad, right? I think it is fair to say that in this country, as with any other venture that you're pursuing, crime could be a way out for people. And I'm not just using a way out of poverty. Or let me say crime can be an avenue to success for many, many people in this country. And I'm not just talking about murder and them kind of things. I'm talking about bubble, you know, suspicious activity, white collar crime, moving funds from this part to this part, not paying your taxes. All those things are avenues towards at least financial success in this country. Are they great avenues to financial success? No. Because as I always argue, with any venture you choose, right, there's going to be 1% of the people who do extremely well, right? There's a thing called Pareto's principle, right? Where, I mean, I always use the 1% because of what the Sabgas say, right? But the 1% is actually about 20%, right? There's a very small percentage in that 20 who do enormously well, to outliers. But generally speaking, anything that you look at, 20% of the people are responsible for 80% of the results. This is something called a Pareto principle. I believe it's an Italian economist by the name of Pareto who came up with this principle, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But you were saying that, so for instance, if you're looking at an economy, he was saying that if you look at 80% of the money that our economy generates, it is going to be generated by 20% of the people. And he said it could be applied to almost anything, any phenomenon in life, right? So if you look at 80% of the crime, is 20% of the people responsible for it. The 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle, right? It's something that I believe in, and it's tend to find that it applies very roughly in many, many scenarios, right? So I am saying this. Most of the people who find themselves involved in crime not going to be successful, right? They're not going to be able to rise up in any economic way or any financial way, as we see here. You see a lot of people who are involved in criminal activity, and they're not going nowhere. They're still living in the same places that they were living. They might get what they consider to be money, but they can't change their economic circumstances. Did I say situations? They can't change the economic situations, or they can't change their own social. There's no social upliftment. They just remain in the same place. Most of the people who are involved in crime not going to do well, but there is a 20% who do enormously well. Should I say on the backs of those 80%? I'll stop short of saying that, but there's a 20% that will do enormously well. But it's the same thing in school and education and thing. They have a 20% who are going to take education and take it and make it into something that changes their circumstances, and then they have a much larger percent who just going to do okay, if that. You understand? So that 80-20 rule, I think what Heinz's response is fair, because he does say that there have some people who are well off and involved in criminal activity, my question to him will be, if you look at them generationally, did they start off well off? I just asking. Right? I just want to know if they were well off all the time, or if there can be a link in this country to the people who do well off and the people who are involved in this crime. Is there a link between the 20% of the people who do very, very well in this country and criminal activity? I don't know. I just asking because if you have some doubts, you have to tell me what causing you to doubt it, because I don't think there's any dispute, or it could be debated, that poverty and unemployment could lead to crime. But the man say he not sure if they have any link between them two things. I just find it hard to. This is the Minister of National Security saying, listen. So moving past that, yeah, you find that wealthy people involved in crime and them things. So I believe that to be the case. People who might be well off, even people who may not have, most of their wealth did not come from crime. You tend to find that in this country, crime is not above people in this country. Let me put it that way. There seems to be, let me choose my words carefully. There seems to be a punch off of crime in this country. And I'm talking about all criminal activity. Let me talk about petty crime, right? We don't seem to be very concerned about the speed limit, the seatbelt thing. We seem to want to get away with whatever we could get away with. And I feel that that's a thing that is throughout the entire culture of this country. It's a cultural thing. It's who we are. Anything that you could get away with, whether it's finding a way not to have to line up in a line, or finding a way to call somebody who you know to get through that service faster than somebody else, or finding a way to get a discount for something, or getting something past the port without paying the 25% and the 12.5% and the 7%, or having one cash register as a VAT sale, or giving you one cash register like 12.5% off every purchase you buy. You know, it's a good discount. You know? We tend to be culturally, it's called we tricky daddians. I think it's for good reason. We forget the word crime, right? We like to get through. We like to get through with things, and we like to get away with things, right? So if it's not supposed to have no park in there, and I could find a way to get away with that park, like what I do outside of Songford this week, I will do it. If it have a way where, you know what I mean, you ain't supposed to do this thing, but you could slide a man a hundred, and you know what I mean, all you're good now, you're going to do it. We this is our culture. And for that reason, a big part of our crime situation might be driven by our cultural penchant for wanting to get away with things. I don't know how that will change over time. I mean, to be fair, I've seen it change, because the seatbelt law is a good example of that, right? We tend to find that we comply if we can't get away with it no more, which is a real positive thing about our culture too. If we could get away with the thing, we will get away with the thing. And to say it differently, if we can corrupt something, we will corrupt it. We don't tend to look at the long-term effects of corruption. We're just looking at the immediacy of the thing that we could get away with. Does that make sense? But when we go to societies where the law is enforced and we have to conform, we tend to conform very, very easily too. So maybe the issue here is that if there are less ways to get away with things, we will do less things that we'll try less. We'll say, all right, well, all they catch me, I good, I ain't doing that, I go wear my seatbelt, right? All they catch me, I go drive at the 100, and I will change. We tend to change very, very quickly to this. But Hines didn't seem to think that it was his explanation for it not being poverty or unemployment. And just one more thing too, right? One of the biggest issues that would drive criminal activity in this country, that adds to the idea of what you could get away with, is that people who are, let me say somebody who is, I don't want to use the word struggling to mean poverty, right? I mean struggling to reach your goals. So if you're doing pretty well middle class and thing, but your goal is to be wealthier, and you see people who are wealthy getting through with what would be considered corruption or criminal activity or whatever you want to call it, or getting away with things, right? So I using figures like, you know what I mean? You're done working for 20 grand a month. You have a good job. You make money coming in. But your goal is to get 100 grand. You want to be wealthy. You have your degrees, or you have your education. So for instance, you might be a doctor. You might be a surgeon. You're doing well. But you start to hang out with other people now who you see doing enormously well. And then when you hear the story behind them, you start to understand that they have a little house somewhere with garden tools for rent. You know what I mean? There's rent garden tools out to people for a living. And you realize that is how they get the very big place in Valsane where they keep these lavish parties and so on. And you was doing well, you know, because you're driving a Mercedes, you're living in a nice community that gated, you have a pool and thing, but you ain't driving the Benz what them driving, or the Range, and you can't buy all them things for your wife, and you can't go on trips on a whim. You know what I mean? And you see somebody who does garden tool rentals for a living. No, there's a dentist or a doctor, right? But they have a little garden tool rental place and a little place they have in Chaguanas that is rent out thing. You might be encouraged, or the lines start to get blurry as to what you should and shouldn't do. Make sense? So even that gap between wherever somebody wants to be. So I'm saying that it will happen for people who are in poverty or unemployment, but I think it will pervade through the whole of society. Anybody who wants betterment and seeing other people getting betterment in a faster way might be more tempted to do a crime, and especially when you could get away with it. I hear a story a time about a man who was building a 4-story building in an area that could only do 2 stories by law. According to the local government law, they could only go up 2 stories. And an attorney general, I hear attorney general tell him casually, build the 4-story building, the most they could do is stop you. They can't tell you break it down. That is what I mean when I say the lines start to blur. Because they don't know crime, they don't know thing. I looked at about victimless crime. They don't know it's not a victim. That was the worst kind of, I mean, I think. And then eventually you lobby, tie it up in court till the approval passed for people to build 4-story building. Then all you have to do is block it in and use your 4 stories. I hear so about a very popular mall being advised to do that by somebody who was attorney general. But what the hell I know? But Hines didn't cite any of these reasons. And I mean, who the hell is me? Me and no Minister of National Security, and I don't know much. Hines went on to say, obscenities in movies, offering his own theory as to the root cause of crime. Hines said that he believed violent TV content plays a role. I feel so too. One thing I can tell you is that our youngsters today, our children, you see, you have to say this in a Hines way too, you know, because when he pontificates, Fitzgerald Hines don't believe in research and them things as he believe in pontification. You know. Once he say it in his normal talking down to people way, he start to believe it's true. But anyway, offering his own theory to the root cause of crime, Hines said, but he believed violent TV to play a role. He's quoted as saying, one thing I can tell you is that our youngsters today, our children, they are exposed to a tremendous amount of violence on an ongoing basis. A daily diet of serious violence. I think he's talking about reading the papers. It can't be. Right, okay. Let me be serious. He referred to graphic violence and obscenities in movies. Oh, at times I thought he was talking about the papers. Honestly, I thought he was talking about the Express, Newsday, and Guardian. He referred to graphic violence and obscenities in movies and also placed some of blame on pornography. What is the violence in pornography? Violence stay in nature? I heard the Archbishop of Port of Spain yesterday. He went on to say that he did the research and TNT was 3rd in the world in terms of consuming pornography. And our children have access to this on a daily basis. That is what the children of the nation, the region, and the world are being taught. That is one of the things you have to do so as a politician, and you must always escalate your speech when you're pontificating. Children of the nation, the region, and the world are being taught. You know what I mean? You have to do that. That is make your point more, you know what I mean? So when you talk about the root causes, for me, that has to be one of them. It must. No evidential documentation, just Hines' feeling as the Minister of National Security. For me, that has to be one of them. These things are having some effect. Some effect. I am no sociologist, evidently. This is evident, Fitzgerald Hines. I am no criminologist. This is evident, Fitzgerald Hines. You are no criminologist. That is evident. But I am almost certain that they are. Almost. Hey, let me tell you something. Fitzgerald Hines is one of the greatest ministers, not just Minister of National Security. You know. Fitzgerald is one of the greatest ministers of national security of all time. And this is why I will always support anything Fitzgerald Hines did or does. Because as I said last week, I am in this game for entertainment. I am here to be entertained. This is very, generally speaking, everything Fitzgerald Hines does and says is very, very entertaining. You couldn't ask for a better Minister of National Security than this, where he openly telling you now, listen, me know you know, but I feel so. In response to economists who come out and ask some questions about where there may be connections between poverty and crime, this man say, here what's going on. Me so sure, you know. Me know what I'm saying here. I'm bereft of any kind of evidence or I don't have nothing to substantiate what I'm saying. But I feel these young people on too much of Pornhub and these things, and this is what leading to violent crime in the country. And let me tell you something. True to form, I'm a man who came here and said that I always here for the entertainment and I here for the talk. So I want to play one of the greatest instrumentals by the troubadours of Barbados by the name of Attack. Yes, man.
Hard one.
Get some.
You know what I like about that? Not just that they think them talking, but they make them trombone and them horns and them talk to one another. You know, it's very, very bad, bad instrumental. Now, before I wrap up and get out here, I just want to, again, express condolences as a nation in mourning again over Kemba Morris and her daughter Zaya, who had perished in a fire in a house recently. And these things, they're enormously sad. And they cause all of us to stop and reflect as a nation, not just on our loved ones and how fragile life could be, but also on how nice this place could be as a country, boy. Sometimes when you study Trinidad's supposed to be nice and we're supposed to be living real good. I mean, not just wealth that pass through this country, but the way we live with each other as neighbors. Because I had experience here in our community, and with the bushfires, you're seeing it more and more. And in Chaguanas here, we're having real problems for water, which is a bad combination. And the place dry and there's a lot of bushfires. I remember coming up the highway one day, and I don't know if this happened to you all, with smoke blowing across the highway where the visibility is zero. It happened to me twice. Once in white smoke where you can't see nothing, and once in completely black smoke. And you just had to pray that, in hindsight, I should really stop before the smoke and not drive through that and wait for that to pass. But when you're young and foolish, you drive through that smoke and you're just hoping that the person in front of you didn't stop. You can't see nothing. And I remember coming out on the next end of smoke at one point and seeing several cars pull up on the side after the smoke with accidents. And when you think about it now, that's a real dumb thing to do, because you don't even know if you're driving straight or not when you think about it. So I'll try not to do that again when I see that kind of smoke. But sometimes you just think you could see through it, and when you reach any mixes, you realize you can't see. And just recently in our community here, I just look out the front of there and the smoke, I have a field opposite me. I couldn't even see the field. It was that kind of smoke. And neighbors, we had to come together and try and see how best we could pull some hose and, and try to stop the fire from threatening some people's houses, And just recently here that happened home here. And our neighbors tend to come together and help each other when that come up. And this is while we wait for an hour for the fire plants to reach. And I want to say salute to the people who always call it fire people who work in fire, right? I want to say salute to the people who work in the fire services, because it's not an easy job when you don't have the tools to do it. And I heard one of the fire, I believe he's responsible for the association, whatever is the fire workers association, talking to Blaze and them this morning, and he was saying how hurt they are when they can't respond. And I believe it was Mova police station, they said, that they are, fire station, that they couldn't respond because they don't have an appliance. And when you think of some of the money that passed through this country and continues to pass through, and the statements that are made about the economic outlook of the country and everything positive, what is the point of having an economic outlook that is good, or oil and gas sector, or a carnival that does well, or any of those things? What's the point of any of them when we having incidents like this? Sorry, I saying move out, but I just reading it here as a token, and it seems to be Separio. If I have that wrong, I apologize in advance. I'm pulling up this. No, it's Penal Fire Station that they were trying to respond from, but there were no fire appliances. That's major risk to life and limb and property when you're talking about no fire, which we could never know, right? We don't need them till we need them desperately. When you talk about a fire station, you pass them things every day, and hopefully most of the time they spend is showing children fire truck and them kind of things, and you know what I mean? But they completely unnecessary till we desperately need them. I don't want to say unnecessary, but you don't think about it at all until they urgently need it, and always too long to respond to a bushfire that threatening people's houses. And it's completely unacceptable for us to have these men in a position, men and women in a position where they have no appliance to respond. And this is a known thing. They sitting in that fire station every day knowing that if a fire breaks out in this area now, we definitely going to lose property, and there's a high chance that we could lose life and limb. And I think it's something that's not acceptable. It's such a sad thing. And while the responses will come in and we go in mourning and thing, this is something that we saw some years ago in Rookery Nook, I think is the name of the place. And now we coming to see this quite down in South, and we're just going to listen. Condolences to the family and the father who now mourning your child and your baby mama or your wife. Is a sad story, and we continue to have these kind of stories that we go through from day to day. So condolences to the family and and to the nation as a whole as we go into Easter. I want to wrap up this episode, as I say, as on a cultural note, right? I'm continuing to be a busybody and be out and about in these streets every weekend that is afforded to me, because life's short and we don't know who here and who ain't going to be here. So my mother was telling me that she went to a show by the name of Gene and Dinah, which she gave rave reviews. And she was telling me about it sometime before, but I have a bad habit of, you see how today is early in April, and you tell me it have a show in the end of June, I just find that song so far. Like 2 months and wait. So much of thing I had to do between now and then that I don't really study it at all. But I'm going to get better at that and book the things, because by the time it came up, the holiday was the Thursday and they only had the Friday night, and I really couldn't make it to that show. But I'm being a busybody for the culture, and I saw this week that Ettienne Charles, great Ettienne Charles, Fatima man, the great Ettienne Charles is having a concert, one in Queen's Hall and one in Sapa, I believe it is, on the 16th, the 15th and the 15th and 16th of April. So 15th in Queen's Hall and 16th in Sapa. If you look too sharp, I go in both. Because I went on Etienne's show in Napa some years ago, and just this weekend, Stacey was telling me, she really enjoyed. She had enjoyed going to that concert with Ettienne, so I'm going to make that. And his shows are very easy experience. I'm pretty sure that if I go on Ettienne Instagram now, it's going to be very easy for me to pull up some ticket link, and I could buy the tickets online, have the tickets on my phone, and go to the show. His shows are also very, very tight. It's not a stretched out 10-hour performance where I had to stand up for long. You could also sit down, unlike Songforge. I'm begging Taurus Movement to go to a venue that have seat. Let me sit down and take in my Matty Miller good, but I will be able to sit and take in Etty, and I might go both shows. And a big part of going to this for me is a man by the name of Jorge Glem. Is the greatest quattro player. Is the greatest quattrista you've ever seen. You all know I like my little quattro, right? I like to play my little quattro and thing, but let me tell you something. Glem is a bad man when it comes to quattro. Very, very bad. He said he will debut his new jazz quartet at the 2-night only concert. Both nights will feature vocalist Charmaine Ford. Salute to Charmaine Ford. I missed Charmaine Ford show the other day. Now, when me and Daddy have shows, right? Charmaine Ford is always present at the shows, and she's a vocalist. She's a great singer, and she's present at the show. Sometimes she's come up and sing a little song with me. We play calypso, right? She will come and sing a little calypso with me and thing. I believe one of the shows she had come and did a ballad for us at Christmas time too. Like a Christmas, a Christmas carol. Always very present. So Charmaine, I will be there. Pianist Dane Gulston, the pianist, the piano girl, Johanna Chuckery. The reading is fundamental. And guitarist Clifford Charles alongside the horn maestro. Why am I not seeing Jorge Glem here? I think these are other performers, but he and Glem are part of the quartet. He says here, I'm eager to come to bring this group Traces, my new quartet. So the name of the quartet is Traces, and they will be performing together. And Ettienne has some bad selections. So I'll leave in here with let me do it a little different, right? I'll leave in here with one of my favorite Ettienne productions or songs from an album he had by the name of Kaiso, right? But I don't want to play the Ettienne version. I want to play, I'm supposed to be playing instrumentals, right? But it's a jazz thing. It's very, very, I find it very exciting, and it's one of the greatest for me. But I'm not sure if it's the right one to end the episode. Should I play it and then play the original? In fairness to Ettienne and in fairness to the fact that it is in fact an instrumental episode, right? So let me find the original let me find the one from Ettienne. We go taking a piece of that, and then I'll play the original, which is one of my, not just my favorite Ettienne pieces, but also one of my favorite calypso songs, of the many favorites that I have. Taking a little slice of this. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Find the right thing, man. If you're going to tell people you think, find the right thing. Let me see if I could find it here. Take the seat. Don't try and take in too much. Go the man show. You know what I mean? One of my favorite pieces by Ettienne is from an album by the name of Calypso, and he has had many albums since then, but I'm looking forward to him coming here and bringing the quartet. But I'm leaving you with the Mighty Sparrow. Rose, the original one, you know.
Girl, I want you bad.
Girl, I want you bad. I'm going staring mad.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Rose, darling, can't you see? Darling, can't you see? You mean so much to me, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Why should you leave me? Why you deceive me? Girl, you're looking for clothes. Tell me why you leave me. Heaven knows all I want is rose. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Rose, you're my everything.
You're my everything. I happy like a king. Oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Why should you leave me? Why you deceive me? Rose, you're looking for love. Heaven knows.
All I want is rose.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. 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 Rose, you're the only girl.
You're the only girl I love in this whole world, oh Lord.
Oh Lord, oh Lord.
My love for you alone. Love for you alone. Please tell me you're my own, oh Lord.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh why? Tell me why you leave me. Why you deceive me? Rose, you're looking for clothes. Why should you leave me? Heaven knows.
All I want is rose.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
This is a song I can't stop in because you see the little solo in the end.
Rose, darling, come back home.
Darling, come back home, please.
Don't leave me alone, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. I give my word to you.
Give my word to you. I'll never be untrue, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Oh why should you leave me? Why you deceive me? Rose, you're looking for clothes. Oh why? Tell me why you leave me. love and rose. All I want is rose, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Him.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh Lord, oh Lord.
Bad on, man. Hey, listen, only have a good little short week. Enjoy the Easter weekend. But if you're going on the beach, be safe. If you're going to church, be safe. If you're going to fly kite, be safe. And I will see you all in next week. Next week, Tuesday is a holiday. Okay, bye.